The city of spires. The capital of Denmark. Copenhagen. Hello and welcome to Z. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. Copenhagen. The Danish government is headquartered in Copenhagen, which is also the country's most populous city. There were 809,314 people living in the city proper as of the 1st of July in 2022. Statistics Denmark considers the following municipalities to be part of the city proper: Copenhagen Municipality, covering an area of 90.10 square kilometers and having a population of 647,509 on July 1, 2022, Frederiksberg Municipality, covering an area of 8.70 square kilometers and having a population of 104,094 on July 1, 2022, covering an area of 66.1 square kilometers and having a population of 43.042 on July 1, 2022. The population of the greater urban area of Copenhagen was 1,366,301 as of the 1st of July 2022, and Copenhagen is the center of the Øresund region, which is the largest metropolitan area in the Nordic countries. Copenhagen also constitutes the core of the larger urban area of Copenhagen. There are 4,136 people living in the Øresund region as of the 1st of July 2022, with 2,711,554 of those people residing in the Danish portion of the region as of the 1st of January 2022. The Øresund region stretches across eastern Denmark and Scania in Sweden and covers a total area of 20,754.63 square kilometers. A portion of the city may be found on the island of Amager, and it is separated from Malmö, which is located in Sweden, by the Strait of Øresund. The capital of Denmark, Copenhagen, is located on the eastern shore of the island of Zealand. The Øresund Bridge provides both a rail and a vehicular connection between the two cities. The current location of Copenhagen was once a Viking fishing settlement that was founded in the 10th century in the general neighborhood of what is now known as Gemmel Strand. Copenhagen did not become the capital of Denmark until the early 15th century. Beginning in the 17th century, it strengthened its position as a regional power center by developing its governmental institutions, military defenses, and armed forces. The city served as the de facto capital of the Kalmar Union during the Renaissance because it was the seat of monarchy. The Kalmar Union governed the majority of what is now the Nordic region as part of a personal union with Sweden and Norway, with the Danish monarch serving as the head of state in this arrangement. Beginning in the 15th century and continuing into the beginning of the 16th century, the city thrived as the cultural and economic center of Scandinavia under the Union for well over 120 years, until the Union was dissolved as a result of a rebellion in Sweden, which caused Sweden to leave the Union. During this time, the Union governed Scandinavia. The city went through a phase of rebuilding in the 18th century after suffering damage from an epidemic of the plague and a fire. This included the development of such cultural institutions as the Royal Theatre and the Royal Academy of Fine Arts, as well as the construction of the exclusive neighborhood of Frederiksstaden. The subsequent destruction that occurred in the early 19th century, when Horatio Nelson assaulted the Danish and Norwegian navy and shelled the city, led to the reconstruction of Copenhagen's buildings in a neoclassical style during the Danish Golden Age. Later, after the end of the Second World War, the Finger Plan encouraged the growth of homes and businesses along the 5 urban railway tracks that radiated outward from the city center. Since the turn of the 21st century, Copenhagen has been witnessing significant urban and cultural development. This growth has been made possible by investments made in the city's institutions and infrastructure. The city is the cultural, economic, and governmental center of Denmark, the Copenhagen Stock Exchange makes it one of the most important financial centers in Northern Europe. The city of Copenhagen's economy has seen significant growth in recent years, particularly in the service sector, which has been driven by projects in information technology, pharmaceuticals, and clean technology. Since the opening of the Øresund Bridge, the Danish capital of Copenhagen has grown more connected with the Swedish province of Scania and Malmö, the main city in Scania. Together, these three cities make up the Øresund region. The cityscape is distinguished by its parks, promenades, and waterfronts, all of which are connected to the various neighborhoods by a number of bridges. Tivoli Gardens, the statue of the Little Mermaid, the Amalienborg and Christiansborg palaces, Rosenborg Castle, Frederiks Church, Bryggen, and a large number of museums, restaurants, and nightclubs are some of the major tourist attractions in Copenhagen. Background on the city of Copenhagen. The history of Copenhagen may be traced back to the 11th century, when the first colony was established at the current location. After falling into the ownership of Bishop Absalon in the middle of the 12th century, it began to grow in significance, and during the 13th century, the city was fortified by constructing a stone wall around its perimeter. The city's rise and development into a significant commerce center was helped along by the harbor and the outstanding prospects for fishing herring. As soon as the Germans became aware of the Hanseatic League's development, they began to launch repeated attacks on it. It was under the leadership of Bishop Jacob Erlandsen that the city was granted its charter in the year 1254. After being crowned king in 1596, Christian IV of Denmark oversaw a considerable expansion of the town, which included the construction of modern fortifications consisting of earthworks and bastions, as well as the creation of new city districts. The king gave orders to German and Dutch architects and craftsmen to construct magnificent buildings with the goal of elevating the king's status. By the time that Christian IV passed away in 1648, Copenhagen had developed into the most important fortification and naval port in all of Denmark. In addition, the city served as a framework for the administration of the Danish monarchy and as a center of trade in Northern Europe. In the years 1658 and 1659, it weathered a harsh siege at the hands of the Swedes led by Charles X and successfully repelled a major assault. Large flames broke out in the city in 1728 and again in 1795, wreaking havoc and destroying the majority of the medieval section of the city each time. In the year 1801, a major conflict between a British fleet led by Admiral Parker and a Danish navy took place in the harbor of Copenhagen. This conflict was known as the Battle of Copenhagen. During the course of this engagement, Lord Nelson placed the telescope to the blind eye so that he would not be able to notice Admiral Parker's signal to halt fire. In 1807, a British expeditionary force shelled Copenhagen in order to seize control of the Danish naval and thwart the developing French plans to invade Britain. As a result of these attacks, the city sustained significant damage, and hundreds of people lost their lives. The fact that Copenhagen relied on an antiquated defense line that had been rendered almost worthless by the long-ranged bombard ships and mortar batteries used by the British was the primary cause of the severe devastation that occurred. However, it wasn't until the 1850s that the walls of the city were opened up, which made it possible for new houses to be erected around the lakes that flanked the old defense system to the west. This significant expansion of area was long needed, not just because the old ramparts were no longer effective as a form of defense, but also because the old city lacked proper sanitation at the time. Prior to the implementation of these loosened restrictions, the population of the historic center of Copenhagen ranged from around 125,000 to 140,000 at the time of the census in 1870. Today, the figure is closer to 25,000. In the year 1901, Copenhagen underwent further expansion, including towns that were home to 40,000 people and, as a result, creating an enclave for Frederiksberg within the city. Both rail and car traffic can use the Øresund Bridge, which is a combination toll bridge and tunnel, to travel between the cities of Copenhagen and Malmö since the summer of the year 2000. Because of this, Copenhagen has grown to become the heart of a broader metropolitan area that encompasses both Denmark and Sweden. The building of the bridge has resulted in a significant amount of renovation and numerous improvements to the public transit system in Amager, which is located to the south of the main city. There are 6 things about Copenhagen that you ought to be aware of. 1. Cycling, and some more cycling. Cycling is the primary mode of transportation for 55% of residents in Copenhagen. Despite the rainy weather, cycling is a popular form of transportation in Copenhagen. Perhaps this is why everyone in the city is so attractive, they could all be models. 2. Christiana Freetown. Within the confines of the city proper of Copenhagen lies a town with its own independent government. They don't pay taxes and govern the Freetown according to their own regulations. They derive their revenue from selling marijuana, which is what this city is most famous for. The city of Christiana is known as the Freetown City. It has approximately 1,000 citizens. 3. The world's longest shopping district only open to foot traffic. Are you serious? Copenhagen has the world's longest pedestrian shopping street. Can you believe it? You'll discover a great mix of local and international brands on the street called Struget. HAY House, Royal Copenhagen, Ilums House, George Jensen, Mads Norgard, and Pilgrim are just few of the Danish shops that can be found on Struget. The Danes have earned a great deal of notoriety for their design. 4. Amusement parks in the middle of the city. That's right, you can find the amusement park right in the middle of Copenhagen. Tivoli Park is the ideal destination for families on vacation. Children will have a great time here. Old-fashioned amusement attractions may be found in Tivoli Gardens. The park's oldest roller coaster was built more than a century ago. This amusement park is without a doubt the most charming one you'll ever have the pleasure of visiting. 5. Danes are huge fans of coffee. The Danes are the 7th largest drinkers of coffee in the world, which explains why they have so many wonderful coffee shops in their country. If you give Atelier September, the Coffee Collective, Sunny, Prologue Coffee Bar, or Cub Coffee Bar a shot, you won't be sorry you did. 6. Best restaurants anywhere in the world. Noma, located in Copenhagen, is often considered to be the best restaurant in the world. René Redzepi, the chef, is a representative of the New Nordic cuisine, which places an emphasis on locally sourced and seasonal ingredients. The most well-known delicacies at Noma include quail eggs smoked with hay, wild herbs that have been foraged, and sea urchin topped with hazelnuts. 7. The Danish capital of Copenhagen is regarded as the happiest place on earth. According to the World Happiness Report from 2013, Copenhagen is both the happiest city in the world and the finest location to live. People are, on the whole, easygoing and friendly. There is no other place on earth that could possibly make you feel happier than you do right now. The Danes are quite skilled at making sure that they are content with themselves. Thank you for being with us.